In this video, we're going to look at converting equations that are in standard form or some other form into slope-intercept form. Now, if you remember, slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b. So if I look up here and I'm looking for slope-intercept form, I want to take this equation right here and I want to get it set up in y equals mx plus b format. So the first thing that I see is I want to have the y all by itself. And in order for the y to be all by itself, that means I have to move everything else to the other side of the equation. So we're going to solve this, and we're going to use our rules, the addition property of equality and the subtraction property of equality. So first off, I want to isolate this 2y term, this negative 2y. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that 3x. Now, since that is a positive 3x, I need to move it to the other side by subtracting it. Once I subtract it, those cancel. The negative 2y comes down, and then I'm left with negative 2y equals, and I've got a negative 3x minus 16. Now, I wrote the 3x first because slope-intercept form, as you can see over here, the x term comes first. And I've got a negative 3x and negative 16, so I just wrote it first. Now I have got to solve for y. Well, in order to solve for y, I need to divide everything by the number that's in front of y, the coefficient, because I want that to be a 1y. This reduces, not cancel, reduces, and we'll come up here to y equals, here I have a negative 3 divided by a negative 2, which gives me a positive 3 over 2, x. And then I have a negative 16 divided by negative 2, which is a positive 8. So that is my slope-intercept form of an equation when I manipulate this equation and get the y by itself. So let's look at another equation. Let's go to the next one. So let's look over here at number 2. Number 2, I want to do the same thing. I want to get that y all by itself. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move that 13x to the other side, and doing that means I'm going to subtract, because it's a positive 13x, that's how I move it. Those will cancel, and that leaves you with a negative 11y. Notice again, I brought the negative down with the 11. That's still there. Equals, and again, I cannot combine these two because one has an x and one doesn't, the negative 15x and the negative 12. So I'm just going to write the x term first. Instead of negative 12 minus 15x, I'm just going to write negative 15x minus 12. Sorry, I'm yawning. Whew. Very long day, and it's going to be a long day tomorrow. So once again, now I'm going to divide because that negative 11 is multiplied by that y. And when you divide or multiply in an equation, you have to do the same thing to every term. Notice up here, when I subtracted the 3x, I only did it once from each side. That's because I only want to take the same amount from each side. When you divide something on one side, you have to divide the whole equation to keep it equitable, to keep it equal. So those will cancel, or reduce, I'm sorry, which equals y. And then I have a negative divided by a negative, which becomes positive 15 over 11x, and positive 12 over, or negative 11 over, negative 12 over negative 11, sorry, it's late, is positive 12 over 11. So that is slope-intercept form for number 2. So that should give you an idea of how to get the y all by itself. Now, we don't always have that option. So if I move, sorry that disappeared there, let's look at number 5. Sometimes you have a situation where you're going to divide by a positive number. It's actually more difficult when you do the previous example when you divide by a negative. But once again, let's look at number 5. I want to get the y by itself, so I'm going to take the 6x and I'm going to subtract it from both sides. That cancels out. That leaves 5y, and it's positive because it's a positive 5y up here, equals, and again, I'm just going to write the negative 6x first and the negative 15. It doesn't matter what order I write them in. I can't combine them anyway because they're not like terms. So the next step is going to be the division. So I'm going to divide everything by 5. So when I do this, I end up with y equals, and then I have negative 6 over 5 plus 3. Oops, and there's an x in there. Forgot the x. And that is my slope-intercept form. Negative 6/5 x plus 3. And the last example I'm going to do is this one over here, because this is one that's seemingly simple but tends to give people problems. I have 4x minus y equals 1, so I'm going to start off by moving that x term over to the other side. That does cancel, so negative y is equal to negative 4x plus 1. Now the question is, what do I do with that y value? Well, if you look at that y value, it's a negative y. That's the same as having a negative 1 in front of it. So to make it positive y, you're going to divide everything by negative 1. And again, division, every term gets divided. Addition and subtraction, you add it once on each side, subtract it once on each side. Division, every single term. So this becomes positive y. I'm going to come down here. That becomes positive y. Negative 4x divided by negative 1 is positive 4x. And 1 divided by negative 1 is negative 1. So that is slope-intercept form. And that is how you rearrange equations into slope-intercept form.